right, hi, hello, yay. I don't know how to not use an outside voice, so I'm going to try to be quiet because this sounds very loud in the microphone. Are you sure? Good. Whew, it sounds really loud from over here. Okay, great. So hi, hello. This is really great. You are currently at VML-Y&R, which is where I work, and I'm very happy to work here. And so it's an advertising agency. We have a lot of creative folks, which you can tell by this amazing slide that I've made. I work hard. So thank you for joining. To be fair, I expected a little bit more cheers and applause. To be fair, we're actually just going to go back and do it again then. Alright, we all did it. We all came here. That was the hardest part. Just getting here was the hardest part. So now it's going to be fun from here on out. Also fun last night. Thank you everybody who joined for karaoke and sang. We might sing again tonight or at this moment, I have no idea. So thank you for joining the Awesome Summit 2019. This is the 6th summit. I cannot name all of them. So we have New York, Boston, Seattle,
Windsor,
Ottawa, DC, and now Chicago. And probably your chapter next. Cool. So I'm curious. Raise your hand if it's your first summit. All right. I actually wasn't expecting that. Cool. Raise your hand if it's your second. Okay. Third. Fourth. Fifth. And 6th. All right. And could everybody who traveled internationally to get here raise your hand real quick? I might have a few more of these. Raise your hand if you're the only one from your chapter here. That's great. All right, so we have a packed full 2 days. If you didn't get a paper agenda, there's still more out front. I also have them on the screens, so you can just look at the TV if you want to see what's happening next. I put some jokes in the screens as well. Feel free to laugh at me. I'm very funny. Great. So what brings us here? We're all here in some way connected to the Awesome Foundation, whether we are an existing trustee, a dean, from the alumni network, or a new chapter, old chapter, a lot of options. So whether you've been around from the very beginning or you're just starting out, whether your chapter has been around from the very beginning or just starting out, this is a really great opportunity for us all to connect, become united, share resources, share successes and struggles, and learn from each other, and for us all to get better in some way. So feel free to share what's working really well at your chapter. Others will learn from it. Share also what you're struggling with. Others may have answers or just have a moment of being able to feel your pain. One thing that I think is really interesting about the Awesome Foundation, I know the struggles that we have at the Chicago chapter are probably different than at what is at the Utrecht chapter, and different from the Seattle chapter. But I think one thing that unites all of us is that we do have a passion for supporting community-based projects. That's probably the only thing that unites us. But that's cool. That's a really great starting place. I do think it's really great that we've all united under this front, and we can learn whether it's a community, like a physical regional community, or thematic chapters, which it would be really great to have more of those. And one other really exciting thing, So I should have done more Google searches and just like had these up more often. This marks 10 years of the Awesome Foundation, which I think is really fantastic. I've only been in the Awesome Foundation for 4.5 years. So I do think it's really incredible that this organization, in whatever capacity, has now made it to 10 years, 94 chapters, which is really incredible, in 13 countries. Cool, great. Someone needs to fact check me. 10 years of the Awesome Foundation, 6 summits. I think that's a pretty great starting place. Here at the Chicago chapter, just to make it all about us, we've been around for 8 years, which I think is also really fantastic. It's really great to be one of the first chapters. I think we were the 6th or 8th. I'm just making up numbers now. Someone is 5th?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Cool. We're going to check everything that I've said later. But I do think it's really fantastic. Chicago is the 3rd largest city in the United States. Really diverse, and we're certainly trying to make that show in all of the grants that we do fund. I know Dave is going to be talking about that a little bit more and how we handle it, but certainly something based on the YARN exercise that I think a lot of people are trying to figure out. So that's cool. And so there are a few types of grants. I know when we were throwing the ball around, people were talking about flamethrowers and orphans. Which, honestly, I was a member of the Awesome Foundation for 6 months before I knew that was a thing. So if anyone else didn't know, don't feel bad. So for flamethrowers, the Chicago chapter definitely funds a mix of flamethrowers and orphans. This one is actually my favorite flamethrower grant. And so essentially it was an opportunity. This woman, she sings in a heavy metal band, if you can't tell. Oh goodness. And she taught everybody how to scream, and it was really amazing. I need to take the class again because I have failed miserably. But it was a really fun opportunity just honestly to spend 2 hours screaming. And also working on tongue exercises. A few other flamethrower grants that we funded. One would be a Kung Fu cage, which literally was a blow-up cage, and you just beat people in it. A pop-up puppet theater on the back of a pickup truck. We do have a puppet thing going on. And that has taken me 3 years to learn how to say pop-up puppet theater on the back of a pickup truck. Most recently we funded a citywide wedding ball for LGBT Muslims, which is an odd flamethrower grant because honestly, we're just funding the party. They're already married. But they had to go through a lot of hoops to do it, and it's just like a really fun opportunity to celebrate. And then another one would be the Back of the Yards bread truck mobile art exhibit, which was just a bread truck that they put mobile art on and just walked around. And so flamethrowers, those are flamethrowers to varying degrees, but they're really just meant to be really crazy, wacky projects that probably wouldn't fulfill most other grant requests. It's unlikely that anybody else would fund a Kung Fu cage. I don't know why not. And then for some of our orphan grants, these are more heartwarming grants, I like to define them as. And so one was Know Your Rights Education, which was an opportunity to teach youth in the South Side how to know their rights if they were detained by police. This one is a photo from the Safety Planning Clinic for Undocumented Families. I think we all know today how that can be very difficult for people who are undocumented, so this was really great. Another one, Making Hermosa Hermosa, which Hermosa is a neighborhood in Chicago, and we want to make it beautiful. Red Line Comfort Stations, which gave out food at the end of the Red Line stations to anybody who wanted it. And a beauty pack, which was just a collection of beauty products to give to people who are at shelters. So I'm really proud at the Chicago chapter that we give out a variety of grants. I don't want to only hear about Chicago grants though, so we're going to do a little participatory activity. If y'all could count to 8. So, 1, 2, 3,
1,
2, 3,
4, 5, 6,
8. 1,
2,
3,
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1,
2,
3,
4,
5,
6,
7,
8, 1,
2,
3,
4,
5,
Uh-oh.
5,
6,
7,
8,
2,
3, 4,
5,
6,
7,
8, 8, 1,
2,
3,
4, 5,
6, 7, 1, 2, 3.
Cool. So what would be really great is if all these smaller groups could get together and talk about their favorite flamethrower and orphan grants from their chapters. I think one great opportunity is for us just to connect and hear what other folks are funding, which would be really great. So if you are a 1, head in Lakeshore Drive. If you're a 2, head in Skyway. 3, Bishop Ford. 4, just hang out at that table right there. 5, table over there. 6. 7, right over there.
5.
6. And then 8. 8 would be over there. We're gonna do that.
4.
Cheers.
That way, but.
We're all 4. Does anyone know about the Enneagram?
The what?
The Enneagram? No, okay, never mind. It's another system for categorizing different personality types. And it's a number. It's a number. 1 to 8, I think, actually. It was just amusing to think about. Never mind.
It's like an alternative minus group.
Yes.
Oh, right.
And it's existed only for 1,000.
What?
Oh, great. Hello, everybody. Just walking out.
Okay, that's good. So how did the other groups do then? Did you listen in? Did you find good stuff?
No, very helpful. Very finding. So what are we supposed to talk about?
Talk about flamethrowers and orphans. Interesting project we funded.
So we recently funded a pipe organ where all of the reeds are made out of screaming chickens.
Oh, that totally qualifies. Live?
No, like the the plastic rubber ones.
Have you seen
yeah.
the Vine?
The Despacitos.
No, the screaming duck Vine. I need to show you right now.
I know.
There's a Despacitos cover with screaming chickens. That's amazing. Oh, that, yeah.
Do you have footage of the screaming chicken?
So, yes. Well, not of the. He made a trumpet, or the actual guy only made a trumpet so far. But this is the. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, you got the idea.
People like that.
So I think the most extreme one was one we didn't fund, which was the giant vagina that you could crawl into.
Oh, I've seen one of those.
Yes,
We didn't fund that
go there. Once we did.
because the artist wanted to use it at elementary schools,
Oh, okay.
and that was weird.
Maybe middle school?
Yeah.
We really struggle with flamethrowers. We're all about the orphans, but
Like
I mean,
for your applications or what you
yeah, the applications that come in, like we don't ever really get, like that's something I want to learn from this trip is how to get orphans.
Obviously no.
Yeah, like how do we get screaming chickens to like?
Well, I think maybe it might just be Boston culture is really weird.
Yeah, actually in UK culture, it's like what the things that don't get funded are like social enterprises, like things that make money don't tend to get funded. So they're ones that we aim for. They're not necessarily flamethrowers, but they're like non-charitable stuff. So we funded things like a walking tour of Glasgow that's run by homeless people, which for us is kind of like, I mean, they make money, so they're a social enterprise, but they don't really get much. That was like quite cool. We've only done 6.
We get whatever we fund. So like if we fund some community garden ones, all of a sudden we get tons of community garden ones. We should have a theater thing, we get a ton of theater things. Like whatever we do, if we do like too many of them in a year, we get just tons of that.
Which is why it's like, I'm looking for a few flamethrowers to try and bootstrap us back into
That's
the...
what I want, yeah. Like sometimes I try and shout about like American ones because I'm like, this is what we want. Like I'll be like, Boston funded this. Why don't you apply this?
For a while on our Facebook page, I was finding those kind of things and posting it on the Awesome Portland Facebook page and said, if anyone replicates this, I'll fund it.
Yeah.
Right? Here's your idea. It's done. Just come and apply.
What about, let's see, have you...
Yeah, so there were a couple orphans I liked a lot. There was I'm blanking on names, but there was like the outdoor activities with refugees. Refugee high school age.
Yeah. Kids.
Which was really great. So folks who have been resettled in Chicago. That's right.
Yeah, refugee.
It's like an acronym that I can't remember.
Education and adventure. Something.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 because we've been resettled in Chicago, and this organization was doing kayaking and other things around the lake here, which was really cool. I don't want to know.
Like, I'm on the top.
What about you? You guys are...
This boat. All at once. No, not all.
Oh, please. Yeah, if you don't mind. Thank you.
Back to our base.
Not even 1 hour here, we already have assigned seats. Yes.
All right, great. What is, if you feel like sharing, what is a grant that is not your own that you liked a lot? Feel free to raise your hand. Go for it, Domino.
San Antonio, speaking of this loud voice thing, we had a grant applicant that they funded that wanted to win the Guinness Book of World Record for having the loudest voice. They funded the equipment and things like that for them to be able to measure it. And he barely missed out making it, right? But
Yeah, maybe next year.
Yep.
Who else?
So one of the original chapters that took an alley and made a huge ball like Raiders of the Lost Ark and the music, and you could wear some clothes and the ball would come rolling down towards you.
Great, that's great.
Utrecht's starting one, which was someone who did a wind-powered bubble maker that they just put around their city. And the story that the person who did it drove to Italy to work with like the company that makes the soap for that, and like brought back barrels of the soap.
Anybody else?
Boston, the rubber chicken organ.
Yeah.
Say more about that.
Actually, I don't know if I could, maybe a Boston person.
It's the screaming chicken pipe organ with the plastic rubber screaming chickens that are like... but
Dead chicken.
Like a toy chicken. But with the keyboard and everything.
Anybody else? Go for it.
Portland did a sculpture, like an interactive sculpture with an ear and a mouth. And yeah, that's right. The ear was like at an elementary school, and then kids would speak into it, and the mouth was at a senior center.
This wasn't talked about in our group, but I think Seattle did the Rainworks thing, which was a person created this spray-on stuff that you couldn't see, and except when it rained, it repelled water. And so you could create this artwork that as soon as it rained, it became visible until it got dry again and it disappeared again. And they did this all in the city. And I sort of contacted them and said, will you come down to Portland? It's just really close. Just do the same thing.
Any others?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, great.
New York, the Sandwich Club, because I still don't fully understand it, but it sounds hilarious. So
I think those are the best grants. We're like, I don't get it.
what I understand is that it's a club of sandwich enthusiasts that hold a conference and that talk about sandwiches.
Yeah, it was a day-long. We funded their 4th one, and there was a sandwich. There were sandwich talks all day. And they were about as excited about sandwiches as we are about awesome, which is why we came to the meeting.
We didn't talk about this in my group, but actually, I'm from the San Francisco chapter. We saw that, I think it was New York, funded the Harriet Tubman stamp for the $20 bills.
Oh, nice.
So this was, if people didn't know, like Andrew Jackson, the $20 bill, it was supposed to be changed to Harriet Tubman, and then Trump was like, nah, let's not do that. So I guess you guys funded someone who actually made stamps. We actually made our own and had a little, at one of our monthly meetings, we stamped a bunch of $20 bills.
Did you use their design?
Yeah,
for it?
we did. We laser cut it and 3D printed it, so that's a really simple thing that was easy that we actually just did also.
So we funded in Ottawa a project called
You're breaking the rules.
No, but here we are, called PopScope, which pop-up telescope community events that then subsequently got funded in 3 other cities as the people who put on the project moved to the U.S. to different places and made applications to other chapters.
And when we funded it, we didn't even know that it had been funded. Just thought it was great.
Anything else? It's okay if the answer is no. Cool, great. So I do think it's really interesting how chapter by chapter we all fund different things. We all have different ways of showing what's awesome, whether it's in our own community or through thematic chapters. And those were all really amazing. So now we're going to dive into some boring logistics. Yay! I changed the slide. All right. Here's some of the takeaways that I want to make sure that we all remember throughout the next few days. You're not in this alone. And I do think that's really important. A lot of us, like for example, I didn't know about flamethrowers for a really long time. Like, there's a lot of information out there. You just need to get connected to the right people to understand what's going on. There are resources to help you, even if we may not have clearly documented them. They do exist, and now could be a great opportunity to figure that out. There's also a lot to learn. Every single chapter is doing their own thing in their own way, funding amazing projects. There is a rich history after 10 years of this organization existing, and every chapter does everything their own way. So there is a lot to learn. There's a lot of historical knowledge, which is really fantastic. But you don't have to know everything, like it's okay. But this is a good opportunity if you do have questions about resources or how things started, or there's very fundamental questions or larger questions of how to handle diversity or how to get more grant applications. These are the people to ask and get ideas. So you don't have to know everything, but do feel comfortable reaching out and trying to get inspiration. No matter what, you showed up, so that was most of the battle, so thank you for doing that. And because you put the effort in to show up here, this experience is what you make of it. So definitely take advantage of this wealth of resources all around you, all of these different viewpoints, different perspectives, people from around the globe. Definitely tap into it and figure out how you can make your own chapter better, what you can learn, how you can support others. It's really what you make of it. And based on last night,
Wait, what happened?
Anything could happen. You could regrettably stay on until 2:30 in the morning, and then show up here at 8. Or something perhaps not like that happens. From last summits, we've done things like create a new chapter handbook, We've had conversations with chapters about how they do live pitches, and then other chapters have started them. Yeah. I know at was it the DC? Nope, Seattle chapter? I don't know. Great, I need to fact check everything I'm saying, but at one of the summits, everybody was very inspired, and a lot of chapters afterwards ended up doing the Awesome Fivers at their own group in December, which is really fantastic. Thank you. How does time work? So it is also an opportunity for us to, if you feel so inspired, to just all try to fund one thing. No pressure. Again, it's what we make of it. So if there is something that you're yearning for and the whole group wants to do it, we can make it happen. I don't know why nothing happened then. How you can help. So I do think this is really important. The number one thing that you can do is just be present. Just be very aware of what's going on. Again, it's 2 days. It's going to fly by very quickly, so try to, as much as possible, participate. If you get tired, there are couches, and I will show you where they are, so you can take a break, but otherwise, like, try to, as much as possible, take advantage of this opportunity. Say hi to everyone. There are 74 people here. I know that's overwhelming. I am an introvert. It is so hard to tell, but it's true. But again, 2 days, wealth of opportunity to connect with folks. So as much as possible, sit at different tables for lunch, sit with different people. When you go out to dinner, try to pick a list where it's a group of people that you have not met before. Like try to shake it up. Or don't, if you don't want to. Document what inspires you. Again, wealth of conversation that's going to happen. It's going to appear at some point on one of these screens. But there is a bit.ly link that goes to a Google Drive, so you can put all of your notes and photos and other things in there. It's also in the program. Thank you so much for that reminder. I printed it. So definitely put notes there. It's going to be really helpful for everyone. And keep in mind, we're all here. There are probably a few thousand people who aren't. So let's try to make sure that we're documenting as much as we can for everybody who wasn't able to attend. Share your questions, struggles, and resources. Again, fabulous opportunity. Cool. And now I'm just going to go through a little bit of the agenda. Again, look at that. It's magic. We are going to try to, as much as possible, stick to this, but there's flexibility because, again, we can do with this whatever we want. Sunday is also packed full. If you are staying later, we do have excursions Sunday evening as well as Monday morning if you would like to. Just to reiterate, sharing really is caring. Please use this. Also, as much as possible, laugh at all of my hysterical jokes. If you aren't already in the WhatsApp group, I know it is blowing up, but it is a good resource. While you are here, on the agenda, there are other helpful things like the Wi-Fi name and password. If you haven't found it already, bathroom is that way. Kitchen is that way. I'll probably point you to all the other rooms for the breakout sessions since I know them best. My phone number is also on the agenda. If something happens that you get locked out, you're lost, or any other struggle that you don't want to share with the entire WhatsApp group, feel free to text me. We'll figure it out. And then from everybody at the Chicago chapter, thank you. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Avi.
And Jonathan.
And Jonathan. Yay. Do you want me to, are you going to do the... Absolutely.
Should I use the microphone?
Please do. I got it.
So while we get plugged in.
No clue. That's why I started yelling.
Check. Okay, anyways, so Jonathan and I thought it would be kind of useful as some of the framing for these 2 days to dig into some of the data that lies in the grant management system and elsewhere. So this is mostly what this presentation is about. We're going to show you some data and slides. And there's also a little bit of sort of broader what we've achieved over the last year or so as a community. So we should like to just jump right in. So 3.9 million.
Woo!
A theme here. Everything has a little disclaimer. So like maybe a little less, maybe a little more. There are like chapters who haven't put grants that we know about. And
There's currency.
Yeah, like it's not all US dollars. So
oh, and grants that were 500. Grants that are 2,000.
So yeah, plus or minus. 94 chapters in 13 countries, so I think that's an all-time high. Again, some disclaimers. So there are actually almost as many dead chapters, inactive chapters, so something to talk about over the weekend, and 30 countries where there are not chapters anymore. What was the plus or minus 10?
Yeah, we don't. Yeah.
And we don't have a new chapters team active right now. It's basically like me answering emails.
And this is the response time for email over time. And actually, this is the first audience participation part, where we can guess what happened in November. Is it this year?
This past year, yeah.
Any ideas?
Someone went on vacation?
Yes, I spent a month in India in November. I need some help. So 31 chapters here today, but we're noting that 63 chapters are not here today. So what does that mean for the conversations we're having? There are some chapters that have never been to a summit before. So it's interesting. 73 of us here today. Didn't do the exact number, but it's like 1,000 plus. It's probably like 1,100 trustees from active chapters who are not here today. So worth thinking about who's not in the room.
And this is the graph of the number. The white line is the number of applications that we've got over time, over the 10 years, and the pink line is the number of grants that we've granted.
Oh.
Which, by the way, is again plus or minus something, but it's a lot. Now, I did this analysis before in 2012, and back then we were growing exponentially, which was amazing. Now we're growing kind of like a square, so it's not growing as fast, but it's growing still. So that's great. And these are the, so now we might wonder like who's giving these grants. And yeah, this is the number of grants, like top 10 list. San Francisco with the most, in Ottawa.
I was out in Seattle last month and had a chat with the chapter, and they happened to mention to me that like they think they're like 20 or 30 grants behind from posting on the website because there was a moment where they sort of handed over from one person to another and somebody didn't have the right passwords. And I offered, could I like help them get this fixed and get those up on the website? And they're like, we actually don't know who won these anymore because we didn't keep any records. So that's they probably blocked out, but I don't know.
What? Oh no, so
These are total grants
total
per
grants, so 120 grants.
Terry had a question.
Yeah.
So are some groups giving more than one a month? Is that, or is this?
This is
how
just
old?
the number of winners clicked.
Yeah, so
winner.
total.
So like seniority.
So not per month.
Yeah.
So yeah, it also probably correlates that with age of the chapter,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. Now there's another humongous asterisk though, which is there's a chapter we didn't mention yet. Which
Yeah, so Awesome Without Borders, which has actually never been at a summit, is actually a project of a small family foundation. And so Awesome Without Borders is giving out one grant every week. And so that accounts for this.
Yes, they're just on like a whole other scale. And this is the breakdown. So now on the y-axis here is grants per month, smoothed over 6 months. And yeah, so it's about half the grants are from America. And then
This is where the grant recipient is?
No, the chapter.
The chapter. Any questions?
I have
Yeah.
I have an announcement for the end
Oh,
that I
okay.
forgot to
Save
include,
that.
but
I
yeah.
have a question for the slide before that. Is it possible to to post to put in things you funded?
Yeah,
in
you
the
can
past?
put any date that's the funded on date. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's more graphs about the funded date
Yeah.
later. Okay, so and these are the applications per month.
What happened?
Spikes.
Yes, question. Any theories?
National
Oh,
average.
right.
What? Oh, you got it.
Yeah.
Wait, you answered the last one too. You know everything.
Yeah, so we did this experiment with Google AdWords in early 2018 because with Google for Nonprofits, we have access to a huge amount of AdWords, $10,000 a month. So that represents, I think it was like $28,000 in AdWords over a 3-month period. But we have to crack this nut still because the consequent was a lot of kind of unfundable applications from the developing world that were just not taken up by chapters. And so Molly can tell you more about this. She ran that experiment. Where did Molly go?
This graph is actually the same as the other one, but the axes are skewed, so you can see that the NE at the bottom saw a really big, like all the chapters had growth, but the NE really got a lot more grant applications than they usually do.
Was it like the overall Awesome Foundation was being promoted through those ads or specific chapters?
Yeah, just awesomefoundation.com.
Overall, there may have been a chapter that piloted like doing ads for themselves. The catch, and happy to talk more about this with anyone who's interested, with the AdWords program is that you have to maintain a 5% click-through rate in order to maintain the grant. So that's really tough.
Now this is looking at growth over time. So so time on the x-axis, and all the chapters are grouped not by country, but by the year that they started. So the very thin white line in the middle is the Boston chapter, so continuing on giving grants. And then surrounded by the ones that started in 2010, 2011, and then the ones on the end are 2018, 2019. So we can see that it's growing, so the number of grants that we're giving is growing, and it's growing, it's not like it's all new or all old, or it's kind of like if you start, it seems that basically the chapters appear to be continuing.
We do see that some cohorts shrink, so like the 2016 cohort is definitely narrower now than it was.
Quick question. Did I see this correctly? 88 chapters forwarded?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where are they in this? They disappeared?
So yeah, so they would be chapters that like this one, which like grew and then it kind of shrunk a little.
Contracted.
Yeah, that's how they would appear. Good question. Okay, so this is grant frequency, where you can see the ones that folded. Often they fold really early, and so if they, this is just measured by number of grants divided by how long they've been around for. So that's why you have a lot of really low ones that maybe have been around for a couple of years, but only gave like 1 or 2 grants. But yeah, it's surprising to me how varied this is, because I thought projects, more chapters were doing it 1 grant a month, like Boston, but yeah, it's a little bit varied. We can talk about it. And then,
of the chapters that have closed?
What?
Is this of the chapters that have closed?
This is all the chapters. Yeah, so live ones and dead ones. Yeah. But yeah, I guess if we just looked at the active chapters, maybe it would be more consistent. Then this is the number of days between when the application was sent in and when the grant was received. So it seems like most people are on a 30-day cycle, but there's also some really, really long ones where I don't know what's going on there. But
So by that you mean when we hit winter, between when they applied and when we hit winter? So if we did it if they got the grant 2 years ago, but we just hit winter now, it would.
Well, it's whatever the date is for when the winner was.
When it was published.
So if you set the winning date to be 2 years ago, then I assume it would.
Or maybe they have been applying for several times.
Those would have shown up as different.
And our chapter would consider previous month's applications subsequently, so it could be that we were just 3 months later funding them 3 months ago.
Yeah, and this is actually cut off, so it goes much beyond 120 to like several years.
A long tail.
Yeah, which is kind of interesting. And then this is just a squish graph of all the, every little ribbon here is a different chapter, and the thickness is like how many grants per month they're giving.
So
Awesome Without
yeah,
Borders.
so the brown one is Awesome Without Borders, and then everyone else is kind of hovering around like a nice smooth 1 grant per month average, or yeah, maybe less. And then the ones that are appearing and disappearing are kind of squished in there.
Okay, yeah, so I just wanted to say a few words about the Institute of Higher Awesome Studies, which is the nonprofit that was set up in 2011 to, at the time, I think, be described as the sort of the helpful suit that the community can put on when we need to go into a space where it's necessary to wear a suit. So the Institute of Higher Awesome Studies, for example, is the bank account that's been processing the money in and out for the summit. It's the entity that holds the domain name for the website and pays the upkeep for the website. It's also the entity that allows us to use Google for Nonprofits and give you all email addresses. And so, just to give you a little update, this image you may have seen on the Facebook group and wondered what this is. This was the hidden Voltron image, and the metaphor is of a community of cats, so that's all the chapters, and the ability to assemble when necessary, like two things all together. So this one of the things we accomplished this year, whereas we don't look back. So the IHA's banking has been very difficult, and in fact not even really electronic for a long time. So we have this year finally moved the banking over, or about to move the banking over in a way that we can actually move money in and out, which will make things a little bit easier. We have also paid somebody to make the website mobile friendly, which is something we probably should have done like 5 years ago. So thank you, Jesse, for
We paid somebody else to do it.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that.
But,
thank you for paying somebody.
Yeah, and that money, by the way, comes out of a Knight Foundation grant that many years ago paid for the original website and had some residual left over that we now spent on this. This is on GitHub, the work on the website over the entire period of time, and so I just wanted to show and flag that like this period, the first 2 months of 2019, is actually probably the busiest period of website commits since the beginning. So it's a busy time, and I think there's more coming that Jesse can tell you about over the weekend. By the way, Google for Nonprofits, if there are chapters in the room who don't have an @awesomefoundation.org email account, give me a shout over the weekend. We are issuing these to new chapters, but there are many in the room who are not new chapters. What else am I got to show you? Oh yes, so this is a meeting that I attended kind of on your collective behalf of Giving Circle Networks that was convened by a group of other communities. So for example, one of the big ones is the 100 Care Alliance. So you may have seen 100 Women Who Give, 100 Men Who Give, 100 Kids Who Give. There are about 600 chapters around the world. And they're actually an interesting one that Jesse and I have been talking to, because they don't have a web platform or any way of compiling information of what they're doing. And so it looks likely that we may do a kind of partnership with them where they're going to find some money and fund development on our web platform to make it a bit more generic and possible to deploy for other Giving Circle networks. And so I think this will bring features back to our community that we won't have to pay for because they'll be useful for us as well. And it's also a way for us to kind of get in and influence the direction and thinking of other Giving Circle networks, which I'll say from this meeting and the previous one I attended, I find very focused on the giving side of things. So one of the things that makes Awesome Foundation unique in this ecosystem is that we're, I think, more concerned with what we're giving to and what small grants can help support than communities that are interested in how do you get people to, from a fundraising perspective, give in new ways, but to traditional causes. And so that's kind of where this whirlwind ends. Unless there are any questions or comments, I'm going to hand it back to Molly. Cedric, you had
I forgot to talk to you about this because I've been running around doing a bunch of camera work. But if you go to awesome.spantree.net, my team a couple hackathons ago, a couple years ago, created a catalog of awesome that we finally put online last night. So it's a searchable index of every single Awesome Foundation grant that's awarded, and you can filter by chapter, you can filter by theme.
What is it?
Awesome.spantree.net. So it's still a little buggy, but if you type in beekeeping, for example.
Wow.
Yeah. Thanks for putting that online finally.
You're welcome. Thank you, Jesse, for helping with the RSS feed as well. So you can actually see which chapters have funded beekeeping, when they awarded the grants, We're going to be adding to this over time, but this will be featured at the Awesome Foundation party tonight. We have a big TV set up with a keyboard where you can play around with it.
Super.
Is it public? Is this going to be public to use?
Yeah, you can access it right now. So just, I didn't get a chance to do the DNS, but I'm thinking catalog.awesomefoundation.org or something. We'll do a CNAME. Yeah.
Super.
So play around with that. It's fun.
Sorry, I'm going to add one more thing about IHAS, which is one more thing that we've done this year is we've cleaned up the governance of the Institute for Higher Awesome Studies. So the board of the nonprofit for many years was this kind of zombie board of people that were put on by Christina early on, who probably were no longer aware they were even on this organization board. So the board is currently Jesse and Will and Molly, who's probably in the kitchen, and Nicole Brodeur, who couldn't make it to the summit because it's her best friend's wedding, and Christina, and Tim, Tim and me. So Tim is in the back on the phone, and me. And so this is a working board. It's not to say that we are, hiring staff or anything, but we are trying to do things on behalf of the community. You are welcome to join us and get involved and chat with us. And we're, I think, after the summit, going to put our heads together and figure out what it is that IHAS wants to do next for the community.
And I think that throughout the weekend too, if there are things that would be as like topics come up in conversations and whatnot, if there are things that we collectively think would be helpful to have under the umbrella of IHAS, we should also hear about those things so that we can figure out whether there's like fundraising opportunities, whether there is global support that we can put our sort of the nonprofit support behind.
But chapters, you are not accountable or connected in any way to IHAS. We are never going to tell you what to do. IHAS is just this vehicle to help do things that we want to do all together. So that is all. Molly, what happens next?
So now we're setting up for lunch, but it's group photo time. Yeah. Yeah. So we're all gonna go downstairs and then look cute. That's the plan. Downstairs. Inside.